So let us quickly recap some of the things that we have learned on why we need to do testing, because on top of this we have to build, once we are an independent person responsible for quality deliverables, then how should we start thinking? What should be our mindset? To do that, let us, before we really try to understand the mindsets needed to be objective and do testing thoroughly, let us go back and ask a set of questions. So from the previous chapters, previous lessons, we talked about variety of things. Let me ask a few questions. So why do we do testing? So you have a set of points on the screen for you now. So you have to tell me yes or no. Why do we test? We test to build confidence. Yes or no? Yes, it is yes. By testing, by finding defects, by getting them fixed, we build confidence about the software, whether it can be delivered to our customers or not. The second point is why we test: to prove that the software is correct. Yes or no? And we told in our first principle of testing that testing can talk about presence of defects. Testing cannot talk about the absence of defects. So no matter how much you test, there is no way for you to prove that the software is correct. So it is not the reason why we do test. The third point is, why do we test? To demonstrate conformance to requirements. Yes or no? Yes. Testing is, after all, it's a comparison activity between the software against its requirements. So that is a valid point. Why do we test? The fourth point is find faults. Yes or no? Yes, we test to find faults. And also we test to reduce costs. And the next point is, why do we do testing? Show system meets user needs. Yes. And the last point, why do we do testing? To assess the software quality. At the end of testing, I should be able to say whether it can be released or not. So we do that. So that is why we do testing. So now let us try to understand how do we build confidence and what happens to our confidence as we do testing. So look at the graphic there. So there is a time axis where we spend some time doing testing, and as we do testing, we keep looking at how confident are we about the quality of the software that we are releasing. So how does this confidence gets built as we do testing over time? Let's say we have been testing for a while and we haven't find lot of defects. So what happens to our confidence about the quality of the software? It increases. We start believing it's a good software. But let's say suddenly a new build came and suddenly you found a lot of faults. So what happens to your confidence about the software? Suddenly it dips. And if for a while again you are not finding defects as you are doing testing, then your confidence builds up, and as you find faults, your confidence starts dipping. So what are we really saying here? So no faults found in software is confidence. Let's examine it further. So when you assess software quality based on your testing, so when you do testing, you may find faults or you may not find faults. So if you assess quality based on the defects that you are finding in a software, so if many faults are found, the software quality is poor. Few faults are found, the software quality is high. But can we make a judgment about software quality based on only this axis? Maybe not. If we do really good testing and then we are still not finding defects because of that, even in spite of doing very good testing, but still faults are not happening in the software, then it is really high quality. But if you are doing poor testing, and because of that poor testing, you are not finding defects, then you may wrongly think that software achieved quality, but whereas it is not. So that is why on only the single axis, it is hard to assess software quality. So we have to also think about another axis where we have to be aware of our quality of testing that is being performed. So if the quality of testing is high, still you are finding fewer faults, then you are rightly judging or rightly building your confidence about the software quality. But if your testing quality is poor, and because of that few faults are found, you may think that you are achieving high quality, you may think you are in that high quality area, but in fact where you are in a low quality area. That is why, along with the defects found, we have to also assess how well we are doing testing. So testing done with not so good mindset may lead you to wrongly judging software quality. But testing done with the right mindset, right psychology, that will lead you to rightly judging the quality of the software. That is why psychology of testing is an extremely important thing. The people who get involved in independent testing, they should have the right mindset. Then only we'll be able to do right judgment about quality of the software. So now, what are these various mindsets people have? We talk about a traditional approach to testing, a very positive, all is well kind of mindset that is needed and that is applied also. And what is the traditional approach to testing? So in a traditional approach to testing, a test engineer sits in front of the software and with a intention, with a mindset to show that whatever system he or she is testing is doing what it is supposed to do, and also not doing what it is not supposed to do. So a person with a traditional mindset sits in front of the software, and the aim in life is to show that the system is doing what it is supposed to do, and the system is not doing what it is not supposed to do. So that is the mindset, and that is what we are calling a positive mindset or all is well kind of mindset. So the goal of the software test engineer with this mindset is to show that the software is working. And also the test engineer really feels successful, happy when the system works. That is the kind of psychology with which people do testing using a traditional mindset. So how this can be achieved? Success, if it comes because system works, if the goal is to show that system is working, then that can be achieved very easily by thinking through very easy set of test cases. It's not very tough. And what is the result of such testing? After you have tested and given to the customer, still lot of faults may have been left in the software. So that is how, if you think, the traditional mindset works like that. So what is a better mindset that is needed from an independent testing professional? So an independent testing professional with a different kind of mindset will sit in front of the software, and while he or she sits in front and tests, in their mind, what happens? They want to demonstrate that the software is doing what it is not supposed to do. And also, the software is not doing what it is supposed to do. They are taking a little bit of negative view of things. They try to think through giving a set of inputs how to prove that the software is not doing what it is supposed to do, and software is doing what it is not supposed to do. That is how you start thinking with a different kind of psychology. And to think like this, the goal for the tester is to find faults. They want to somehow think through unusual set of inputs, unusual kind of input scenarios where they can find faults. And the test engineer with this mindset really enjoys when the system fails. The success is felt when the system fails. And this kind of testing can be achieved not by thinking through very easy set of test cases. If you have to think like this, you have to think through a lot of difficult test cases, unusual scenarios, exceptional situations, unusual inputs have to be thought through. And what is the result of such testing? After you have tested thoroughly and developers fix it, then maybe very few faults only will be left in the system after that. So this is what we are talking about, the psychology of an independent tester. There is a little bit of positive approach where to show that the system works, think through all positive scenarios, and a little bit negative mindset where think through very unusual situations and with an intention to find faults and really thinking through difficult test cases. So both of these mindsets are needed. So in fact, in a real testing world, we have to think both positively as well as negatively. So if you are kind of testing a new car prototype, so before you really do some destructive kind of tests, that's what we call them, tests to fail. What we do some basic sanity level tests. We call them tests to pass. Similarly, in software, when a build comes first time to you as a tester, before you start doing a lot of destructive, negative tests, first you do a lot of simple tests, and those are called tests to pass. So there is a place for both of them, but tests to pass only doesn't make good independent testing. So let us understand something called testing paradox. So I told you right now, purpose of testing is to find faults. You have to have that kind of mindset. And earlier I demonstrated that finding faults destroys confidence. And initially we started with a question and all of us have answered purpose of so from this, purpose of testing is destroy confidence. But earlier on I talked about purpose of testing is to build confidence. So that is what is a contradiction, and that is what we call is testing paradox. So how do we come out of this testing paradox? The best way to build confidence is to try destroy it. So negative mindset while doing testing is extremely important. That is why the psychology of testing is an extremely important topic. So after having said that, who wants to be a tester? It's a destructive process. Whenever we talk about destruction, it's not a so positive word, it's a very negative word. So still, do you want to be a tester? Because why we are taking this kind of negative mindset? The reason for being negative is to ensure that a good quality software lands up with the customer. Because of bad quality, the end users don't suffer. So with that in our mind, we are taking a negative mindset just to improve the quality of the software. And also, whenever you do this kind of destructive process and you enjoy when things fail, you enjoy when you find faults, then very important thing is that how do we communicate this to people? So when we find defects, there is a particular way of communicating them. I'll talk about that little later, but it's very important when you are separating responsibilities between testing and development, there can be communication issues. There can be a set of tensions that can arise between the development team and testing team. So you have to really build very good skills around talking about the defects you are finding in a software in a very intelligent and smart way. And also a lot of times testing is done under time pressure. So what we are really talking here is that testers and developers have different kind of mindsets. So in a project team, there are developers and there are testers. So there is a common objective for both of these roles, and that is to deliver a system that meets the requirements and expectations of the user. That is the common objective of both developer and tester. But while achieving this common objective, developers, they are viewed as constructive. They create things. Whatever they created works, they feel happy. So they are more by nature people who build things. And when they do testing with that mindset, the tendency is that they will always test based on what they did, not based on what the requirement says. Sometimes that can be possible. So that is a typical developer mindset. But whereas testers, especially the independent testers, they view things little bit destructively, and the engineers also look at with a lot of negative mindset just to find faults, and they enjoy when things don't work. They enjoy when systems fail. And to really find faults, to enjoy when the defects are happening, they always test against requirements. They are not driven by how software has been developed by developers. That is their nature. And because we are separating these two activities inside a project team, it can cause some kind of tensions, which a test engineer must be aware of that and proactively work on that, how to reduce those tensions. So that is a very important skill a good tester must have. So now, how testers and developers should work together. In fact, I worked long back in a company, that was almost 20 years back. I worked in a company where a new testing team, independent testing team has been placed, where the company was existing almost 20 years by doing not independent testing but developers doing testing. Suddenly we built an independent testing team and brought into the organization, and I was leading that organization. But then at the end of 1 year, when I reviewed how the development team and my independent testing team, how they are working together, actually this was the situation. The developer and tester inside the organization, every possible occasion we were fighting. Is it good? Because a set of people are developers, a set of people independent testers within the organization. If this kind of situation is there where Mr. Developer and Mr. Tester on all possible occasions arguing, fighting head on, is it a good situation? It is not. Mr. Developer, Mr. Tester, ideally they have to work in collaboration as partners and run towards delivering the software. But because of the nature and because we are separating the responsibilities, because of the mindset differences, sometimes the conflict might arise. And as good professional testers, you must be aware of those things. So what you should do as a tester? So as testers, we enjoy finding faults, and we really enjoy when system fails. Imagine you are a tester who worked very hard wrote a lot of great test cases and you ran them on the software and you found a lot of defects. So what is your kind of mindset at that time? What is your emotion when, because of your hard work, you are able to find really good bugs? Are you happy or sad? In fact, all testers really, they dance with joy when their hard work pays off and they are finding great bugs in the software. So typically when we are happy, we are excited, what do? We go and boast ourselves in front of developers. Let's say one of these days you have found a lot of good defects after good hard work, you are really happy, excited. Typical tester, what they do? They will go to a developer and tell, hey developer, I found these bugs, fix it immediately. What a lousy code you wrote. Will it help you as a tester? No, that is not the way to deal with your emotion when you are happy. When you are happy, what you must do? You communicate your defects in a very fact-focused manner, not really gloat about your defects that you found. What happens because of this? You are controlling your emotion and you are writing very professional defect reports. Developers will look at them. In their mind, they will think, oh great, this fellow has found good defects, let me correct them. So that is the good way of reacting in those kind of situations. Now, let us say there is another situation that happened. As a test engineer, you have worked very, very hard. You thought through variety of unusual situations, input scenarios. You ran all of them, but you are not able to find any bugs. The software is not breaking. The software is working perfectly. What is your emotion at that time? How do you feel at that time? Will you feel happy or will you feel sad? Yes, you will feel sad if you are a good test engineer because you will enjoy only when you find defects. So typically, what do we do when we are in a sad mood? Will you sleep behind your desk with all sadness in your face? Is it the right way? No, that is not the right way. What you have to do, you go to the developer and pat his back, tell, hey developer, I tried very hard. I couldn't find any bug. You wrote real great piece of software. Keep it up. And that kind of controlling your emotion and reacting in that way will make you a better test engineer. What happens in this situation? You will build good rapport with your development partners. That is extremely important. Having good partnership kind of culture between a developer and tester is very important, while we enjoy having our own mindsets to deal with problems of testing. So collaborating with developers is extremely important thing. So that is why the psychology or the mindset issues around testing, especially around independent testing, is very, very important issue that you must perfect. Hope this has been useful. So learn and have fun.